A man who once plowed a car into a Trump voter registration drive shot another man in a wheelchair over a claim of stolen valor. And now, after his bizarre rap sheet has been made public, he's claiming self-defense. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. A couple weeks ago there was a shooting in Seattle and recently it started hitting some of the YouTube channels. I didn't get around to covering it because of all the travel and guests coming through, but now I'm glad I held off as we're getting even more information that makes this a pretty bizarre case. But before we get into all of that, this video is brought to you with the help of RMA, the King of Armor. RMA was founded by a Marine veteran and produces record-breaking ballistic plates that outperform every competitor in the industry. And now, RMA has just launched the new XRT plates. The newest offering in their special rifle threat category is as close to level 4 plates as you can get without the big weight or the big bucks. They're just over 5 pounds a plate, but they do not sacrifice multi-hit, hard-hitting penetrator and armor-piercing performance. And RMA is launching them at a special sale price to make sure that everyone can afford lightweight American-made body armor. So to cut weight, cut price, and keep the performance, check them out at my link down in the description. Now let's start with what actually happened, which, by the way, was caught on video. Back on July 31st in downtown Seattle, 32-year-old Gregory Tim allegedly approached a man in a wheelchair and confronted him about his military service.
Harold Powell Sr. proudly wears his military hat and displays this on his wall.
Well, it means everything to me. That's who I am. I was in the United States Navy submarine service for 14 years and I transferred out.
Powell performs regularly along Seattle's busy waterfront, positioning himself next to a sign that highlights his military service as he entertains tourists.
I play different tamarines with different songs.
But an encounter on July 31st quickly turned violent. Powell describes the events that led to this moment.
I was getting ready to leave and a gentleman walked up to me. He says, how long are you going to be here? I said, I'm wrapping up. I said, why? He says, because you're a fake veteran. I said, no, I'm a veteran, man.
Powell says he reached into his bag to retrieve proof.
I says, no, I got ID. He grabbed my belongings.
Video shows Tim pulling a gun on a 68-year-old man in a wheelchair adorned with an American flag while people scream and take off. The footage was released by the King County Prosecutor's Office, who say that Tim approached the man and demanded proof of his military service. He demanded to see the man's military ID. The man, for whatever reason, actually started digging in his wallet, and while he did so, Tim ripped a military patch off the older man's belongings. The prosecutor says that this caused the older man to pull out a knife. Then, Tim continued to harass him, so the older man took an airsoft gun out of a holster, which is an interesting choice of weapon. Tim responded by drawing a real gun, pointing at the man in the wheelchair and shooting him in the chest. According to the charges, he then put his gun back in his bag, his hands in the air, and waited for the cops. Now, YouTube will flag me if I show the actual pew-pewing, but I will show you what we have up until that point. Pew pew.
All right, everybody. Show me your ID. Pull a fucking gun on me. Show me your ID. Pull a fucking gun on me. Pull a fucking gun on me. Put it away, sir. It's all right, everybody. I apologize. Pull a gun on me. I don't care if you pull a gun on me. We're not friends. Right!
And the fact that I have to censor it in that way when regular news channels get to put it all over the screen is a different issue entirely. But I do what I have to stay here. Now, Tim was arrested on the scene, charged with first-degree assault as the victim lived, and he is being held on $750,000 bail. If convicted, he could face up to life in prison. Tim's lawyers are claiming self-defense as the older man pulled out a knife and then a gun. But there are a few problems with that. First, Tim started the altercation and was the initial aggressor. I don't know how else you can paint harassing someone and stealing their stuff. In Washington state, that automatically bars you from claiming self-defense. Now, we also have to consider the fact that, initially, the older man took out a knife. He was in a wheelchair. His bar for equal or lesser force is going to be a lot lower than Tim's because he is literally stuck in a chair with limited means of escape. Tim could have just walked away, and it could even be argued that ripping away the older man's property is, in and of itself, assault or at the very least, theft. Maybe even harassment if you want to go that low. Either way, instead of leaving, Tim continued to escalate to the point that the victim thought that he needed a gun, albeit an airsoft one. Now, Tim didn't know it was an airsoft gun, and no one in that situation is going to stop and ask themselves if the gun is real or not. But seeing as he started it and had several chances to exit the situation, that doesn't matter. Now we will add to the story the information that once upon a time in ye old summer of love 2020, Tim rammed his car into a Trump voter registration booth in Jacksonville, Florida, because all weird crap happens in Jacksonville. No one was hurt, and he was only charged and convicted of criminal mischief in that case, which is only a misdemeanor and therefore did not disqualify him from owning guns. He told the police that he did it because he didn't like Trump, and in court explained that he felt it was his duty, which does suggest he is not at all rational, as if this current event didn't tell us that already. I mean, if he is willing to ram his car into a booth of innocent people who luckily got away, it's not a stretch that he would randomly be harassing an old dude in a wheelchair. Unfortunately, the older gentleman here may have learned a lesson that if you are reasonably in fear for your safety, an airsoft pistol isn't gonna help you. It may, in cases like this, make matters worse because if the bad guy isn't scared away, now the situation is escalated and you have zero way to protect yourself, especially if the other dude is armed with an actual weapon. Frankly, the man is lucky to be alive. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video. You guys know the drill. For all of the algorithm things, please do them. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there and happy shooting.